So now I really will share my screen. There are just a few slides, and then I'm hoping that you guys will have lots of questions and we'll be able to have some great discussions. So I am hopeful that you can now see the title slide, which is EDDMapS and iNats tips and tricks, and someone holler if you cannot. I'm hoping that is really Gary or Matt.
Looks good, Angie.
Thank you. All right, so this is what we're doing today. There will be, so just a quick reminder, we are recording, and the recording will be available for review later, and I'll send that out to Forest Pest Detectors when it is posted on YouTube. Then I also want to say, let's see, I think next slide. So we already did introduction, so it is most helpful if you can mute it when you're not talking, just in case there are background noises. And then it says here, type questions into the chat. You are, of course, welcome to do that. You can also raise your hand, or, you know, if it's just a free-flowing conversation, there aren't a ton of us, you know, when there's a pause, you can jump in. So we'll do any of those things, and I'm hoping that Matt and Gary can help monitor the chat and the raised hands for me. All right, so then it's just, oh, this is, sorry, I should have deleted this one. This was our kick for this time. As a reminder, what we're talking about. So this I put in as sort of my overview slide. This is a screenshot of my phone, and I have all of these apps organized into a folder that I call Observe on my phone. And I share this in case this is helpful for others. And then I'm showing you this sort of to give you a bit of a gamut of the things. I have in my Observe folder on my phone, I have EDDMapS Pro, I have Wild Spotter, which I think is EDDMapS version of Seek, which you'll notice I don't actually have, but is an iNaturalist platform. And I'll talk a little bit about that. Barb already mentioned it. Then I have standard EDDMapS, which is brand new out this year, that is likely to one day replace what we use most, which is Great Lakes Early Detection Network app, or GLEDN. These two, this is like the new iteration of this. And as you can imagine, Great Lakes Early Detection Network isn't targeted to the Great Lakes, which is somewhat limited if you're not in the Great Lakes, although the app works just the same. And so I think this is intended to sort of take the place for all of the regional apps that were, by and large, created through individual regional grants, and just consolidate them under one platform. So you'll notice here in Minnesota, we have decided to continue to use this app for the 2021 year, but we are likely to switch to this app come 2022. So heads up. Then I have Merlin, which we're not really going to talk about, but I'm happy to field questions. This is a super great app for birding. And I want to be super clear, I am no birder. And so that is a disadvantage. But if I want to bird, or if I want to try to call birds, Merlin is a really great app. And again, I can take questions if there is some time for that. Then we're going to talk a lot about iNaturalist. So I think iNaturalist is great. It has lots of capabilities. There is a new app called Seek. Barb mentioned that. It is also on the iNaturalist platform. I view it to be the super beginner's version of iNaturalist, and probably not the version for you guys. But I will happily field a few questions about that. And then these are different. So this is actually the ISM Track app. And ISM Track plays with all of these. They all play on the same platform, the EDDMapS platform. I will tell you, I've had a little bit of trouble getting the app to do all that I think it should. So I have a shortcut to the web page on my phone, and that does what I think it should. And so these actually go to the same place, but this goes through the website or the web page, and this is the app. And all of these things are all on the EDDMapS platform. So they all have different names, but they're all going to the same place. So Sasha and I can see all the reports that come in there. So any quick questions on this? So questions about, well, just any quick questions about this? Okay, I can only see a few people, so not hearing any.
Angie, Jason asks, do you use Picture This? Have you heard of that one?
Yes, I have heard of it, and I feel like I test ran it about a year ago. And can I just Google it, and that might help jog my memory, because if I don't want to, I do not remember liking it. picture this app. Yes. Okay. As I recall, and so Jason, you can jump in and correct me, but as I recall, this app was interesting in that it had a lot of like, I don't know what I would say, like human dimensions of plants, but it didn't, and I think it was, if I recall, a little bit more targeted for horticulture. And I recall not that it didn't have some information that I really like in iNaturalist. So if you want to correct me on that at all, Jason, you can.
I use it once in a while here at work. It's really simple to use. You just take a picture, put it in the app, and it spits out an answer to you, and you are correct. It doesn't give you everything you probably need to know, but it's kind of a quick down and dirty, this is what this plant could be type of app.
Fair enough. And so I would argue, I guess, that iNaturalist does the same thing, but is more robust. But am I right that picture this is more horticultural? Am I remembering that correctly?
Yes.
Okay, so that can be helpful. So that actually might be a good reminder for me to try it again. I have one, I think I have solved my horticultural mystery, but it can be tricky to come up with the actual answer for some plants. All right, any other questions before I slide forward?
No, just a couple of other comments about using the app versus using a browser. Then Barb mentioned she has the Sibley Birds app and loves it. So
okay, and I don't know much about the Sibley Birds app. I'm tempted to wait birds till the end because it's not quite our focus, but I'm happy to swap ideas about these apps. Yeah, we're going to talk about the difference between websites and apps here in a moment. So let's go forward. So first, I want to make sure at some point today that we cover the advanced query in EDDMapS and that we talk about projects in iNaturalist. So we'll do that in a minute, but I think this is as good a time to any to look at some of the differences. So I'm hopeful that you guys did your presentation or did watch the videos that were provided in advance of this. And so you've seen sort of the basic, what you can do on the app. So I will maybe start with EDDMapS. And so on my phone, and let's see, so I am going to actually look at my phone, and I hope you guys have your phones out so we can have our phones and look at how this works. So on my phone, I use the GLEDN app, the Great Lakes Early Detection Network app. And so I click on that and I have a bunch of choices that I can do. I have species by category, all species, my list. I'll be frank, I don't actually use the my list, but some people really love it. Then I have, I can log into my whole account. There's all kinds of things, but the way I typically do it is I will, let's see, I will go into the category. So I typically go by species category. And when, let's say I have an herbaceous herb. Okay. Sorry, I'm looking at my phone. Can you see me? Okay, I kind of hate to say this out loud in a webinar, but my reporting indicator is like missing. Do you guys all have your reporting indicators? There we go. Okay, so one of the downers for EDDMapS is you have to know what it is in order to do the report. So I go into herbs and forbs, and then you have to essentially know what it is. So this time of year, I might be reporting on garlic mustard. So I can go into garlic mustard. And so on your screen, I'm hopeful that you're looking at the information on the right, which will give you an overview, images, maps, where it's been found locally. And then at the top, often it moves around a little bit, is the report feature. And so in there, you can do the report. Now, this, in my opinion, is the fastest and easiest way to do a report in EDDMapS or in, I'm sorry, EDDMapS, Great Lakes Early Detection Network app. They all are on the same platform. Because my phone automatically pulls in my GPS coordinates. I can easily take a picture from my phone. That choose site is in reference to the ISM track sites. And so this, I think, is way easier to put in information directly from my phone because it pulls the pictures from my phone camera. And at this point, that's the only camera I use, for better or for worse. And it pulls in my GPS coordinates. If I were to do that same series of things here on the website, so you're still seeing my screen, I can still do it. I have to, again, know the plant. So let's say I think it is, again, garlic mustard. So I have to know that, and then I have to fill in all of these categories. And so if I know that there's garlic mustard, and then, you know, it starts like way far away, I'm not in Africa, but of course my computer doesn't know that, right? So I'm going to keep zooming. There's garlic mustard here. I'm not actually going to put this report in, but I know it to be the case. There we go. So there is garlic mustard right here. There's some first year, actually, it's a little bit further over. So right here, there's some garlic mustard. So I can either put in a point, or I will be frank, in this case, it really needs a polygon. So then I can polygon it. And so you see, then it brings in this, and I can put in information. I can add the site, so I can do the cover in abundance, right? So this is in a forest. This is a dense monoculture in that little spot. We can add percent cover, but I already put dense monoculture. These are immature seedlings or rosettes because I pulled all of the mature ones. And then I know that this is actually a city government. It's a city park. That's optional. You have a few more options here sometimes. Now I can add pictures if I want. Of course, I'm at my desktop. I don't have any just this moment. I can also add, again, I don't do this a lot here. Somewhere here, I can add that this is, yes, a site. I know this is also the Plummer House Woods, which is a site that I have selected and created in ISM track. So you can do essentially all the same things. I just think it's a little putzier. And for me, in order to get, this cannot be verified without a picture, right? So I would have to add a photo. And for me to do that, I would take the photo on my phone. I would then email it to myself. And then I have to download it to my computer in order to upload it to this reporting system. That is a lot of work in my world. But it's in my app, it happens all very quickly. So I'm going to pause because several people said they had questions about using the window versus using their app. So let's field those as it relates to EDDMapS, and I'll kind of do the same thing in iNaturalist next.
Not seeing any questions. Looks like Lisa has a comment. You can connect your phone to your PC via USB cord and then choose the photo off your phone just like it's an external hard drive. So that's interesting.
Yeah, that is a good tip and reminder. I haven't done that in years, but I did have a phone where like that was the only way I could reliably get pictures off. So good reminder. Good reminder. And there are, yep, go ahead.
Sorry, this is Sasha. I just wanted to say, you mentioned that you have to know what you're looking at in order to put it into EDDMapS.
Yeah.
I just want to point out that if you're using the app, you can confirm what you're looking at. So if you're like, I'm pretty sure this is garlic mustard, but I'm not positive, you can go into the app and there's a little, a little image of an eye that I think is looking into the field guide, and you can click on that next to garlic mustard and it'll show you pictures and have description of that species. So you can look at that and say, oh yeah, I am right. So you can confirm what you're actually looking for.
Yeah, so great reminder. So I want you guys to look at your phone, but I will show you the information you should be able to see. You can see my desktop, so I will show it to you here. But this is the information that you can see. So you can see appearance, foliage, flowers, fruit, ecological threat, citations, and then there'll be a series of pictures. And on your phone, well, in both places, you can scroll through these. In your phone, it actually scrolls a little bit better in my opinion, but this is the rosette. So that's what I was reporting when I did that. I pulled the matures. Right now, frankly, you're going to see this. That's what we're looking at. This would be another example of what you're likely to see this time of year. And then this shows you using the map. And so I will go ahead and click on the map. So here is the map by county. And I would like to show you, I will maybe stay with EDDMapS a little bit, but I will pause. And then listing invasive species. So this is where this has been sourced. And it's also, I suspect this is where it is regulated. So this particular species, garlic mustard, is highly regulated. Some are not. So if I may go to worms as an example, and it's not going to be regulated. But all of this information is also available on the app. And I will be really frank and honest. If I don't know a species, I iNat it first, sort of try to figure it out. And then if it's non-native or possibly invasive, I then report it to EDDMapS. And so someone will verify it in EDDMapS, but at least I have a higher degree of confidence that it's not some lovely native that is just new to me. So any questions about the difference between using the reporting on EDDMapS? Again, I just want to be really clear because I feel like I've said it, but not clearly. So I'm going to quickly go back. All of these things, it's kind of like a Google platform. So ISM Track, the ISM Track on the website, Great Lakes Early Detection Network app, EDDMapS Pro, WildSpotter, and EDDMapS are all on the same platform. So any report in any of those goes to the same database. And again, there's reasons that they have different names. Some of them are a bit arcane at this point. So any last questions about the difference between using your phone and using the reporting online?
Andy, I had one question. This is Janet McDaniel.
Yeah.
You answered one of my questions, but at the bottom of the page, it says save. That actually sends the report, right? The save.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So you have to hit, yep. Yeah, I'm glad you said that, right? So my report is probably gone because I left the page. But right, you have to save it. And on your app, this is an important step, which I certainly have messed up in the past personally. But on your app, because your app, you may not have cell reception, it saves it into a queue. And then you have to manually upload your queue in the app. So the good news is, even if you don't have cell reception, you can take the EDDMapS report, but then you have to remember to upload it when you get back to the office or the internet cafe or the McDonald's or wherever it is that you have internet again. You have to then upload your queue. And so occasionally when we see reports come in that were observed a year ago and they just got reported, I'm like, oh, they just forgot to upload their queue.
And you can do that on your phone too.
Yep, exactly. But you do have to make a point to do it. Like it's easy to forget, you know, you get in a hurry, you're in a rush, somebody interrupts you, it starts to rain and it just flies out of your head. And don't worry, it's happened to all of us. No hard feelings, just report it when you remember. But thank you for that reminder. Okay, so quickly, one of the things I wanted to show you was about the tools. So one of the things that I really like as a natural resource manager and frankly as a landowner is the advanced query in EDDMapS. So here is the advanced query feature. And in here, I can do all kinds of things. So I can report by user group. So when I have to do reports at the end of year, I pull all of the Forest Pest First Detector information and see everything that you guys have submitted for the year. And so I won't do that, but it's super handy and I like it. What I will do though, is let's say I want to find all of the species that are in Olmsted County. So every single invasive species, so this is going to be a sad scene, but I can go and look at every species in Olmsted County that has been reported. And it will take a minute because that's going to be a decent number of species. And so then I can zoom in. And then I can see, and this helps me to know what I might be running into when I'm out in the woods, right? So again, the closer I zoom, it's still loading. It will continue to load for a while. That is no short list of species. And then I want to just say here, positive. So the red indicators that yes, it's been reported and confirmed. So there are 1,700 reports. Eradicated. Whoa, so 8. So people have found it, they've reported it, they've killed it, they've recorded that. Treated. So you'll have 127. So they found it, they reported it, they're working on it. And then negative. They went looking for it, they did not find it, and they reported that. So that's a useful presence absence survey. And so, so you'll see I've been working a lot here. This is that Plummer House Woods. And I can change this to satellite if I want. So it's that same thing. But you'll see that this is where I recorded that, yes, I treated these things and I got them. A lot of these are Japanese tree lilac that I reported. Now, let's be clear, there are big polygons around this whole area for honeysuckle and buckthorn, right? But polygons show up in a different screen. So I think this can be really helpful if you're going to a new property, you have your property, but you don't really know what might be in the neighborhood. So this can help you understand what is around. So any quick questions about that? And this information you can also download in these variety of files. And so then you can see it as a list. And so if you want to like quickly, because this is a little bit cumbersome, it's really helpful when you're doing geographic work, but it's a little bit cumbersome to sort of know all of the species, right? Because you have to get really close before there's any way to tell. And most of the time you have to pop in and say, oh, that was squill. And then over here, you have to zoom in even more and say, what was this? Oh, Japanese tree lilac. But that's like super putsy, right? So if you export this data, you can, oh, sorry. When I'm in Zoom, it's a little trickier. So you can export it and see the files and then have like a list of species. Any questions about that before I move on to iNaturalist, reporting on your phone versus reporting online?
I'm not seeing any questions, Angie.
Excellent. I'm hopeful everyone's still awake. All right, so now I'm going back to your actual phone. So again, I hope you have it out. I'm in my Observe. I'm going to close out of Glennon and in iNaturalist. So what opens for me right away is my observations. And then if I want to add an observation, like I did several this morning, which I'll show you in a moment, for me on my Android, it's in the bottom left corner, I have a little plus sign and I can go there and then I get a bunch of choices. No media, I will tell you, no media is not helpful. There's take photo, choose image, record sound, or choose a sound. And so just like in Great Lakes Early Detection Network, if I already have the image on my phone, like I accidentally took it in gallery, or I took a quick snap before the bird flew away, and I didn't have time to open my app, I can choose it from my gallery. I often take it in iNaturalist directly, but it's up to you. So I pick one of these things. I'm going to pick photo for right now. I then take a photo and then it gives me a bunch of choices. And so a couple of really key things, super important. One, you're going to have the best results if you have it suggest something. So if you don't know what it is, there's on my phone, it says, what did you see? And I click on that and then it gives me its best guess based on artificial intelligence. It's looked at my pictures pictures, let me just take a pause. More pictures are better. So flowers are super great. Leaf arrangement is super great. The whole plant or the whole creature is very important. So there is that, they have a great, 1-minute video, YouTube video on what matters, but we cannot identify lots of things with only one picture. And then you get to choose which picture is the best one that you want to have it look at first. So then it's going to give you a best guess. And so then you can look and scroll through and see if that guess feels right or not. You can scroll down and see if it isn't. So iNaturalist does not always get it right, but it at least gives you some choices and some options. Then it tells me the date and the time. It tells me, again, my geolocation is on, so the coordinates. It tells me this is a visible location. I can change that. So for miners, that can be important. And then this is really important. It says it is captive or it is cultivated. And if it is in your yard or a arboretum or a community landscape, you want to click captive, because then we know it's not native. It also is not invasive. So Japanese tree lilac in your boulevard that is intentionally planted is not invasive. It's only when it escapes into the natural area and it starts growing on its own that it may be considered invasive. So we need you to click that. And this last feature on the app is called Add a Project. Some projects will automatically take up your report if you're within their designated geographic area. So the park project that I'm going to show you in a minute does that. Other projects like my yard, I have to actively click on it when I'm in my yard so that those reports feed to the yard project. So that's important if you're caring about a project. If you don't care about a project, you're just going to ignore that and it is totally good. So that's how you would do it there. If you were to do it here, I got to tell you, I like never do it here. So now I got to really think about it. Okay. Observe, that's what I'm looking for. Okay, so if I'm going to do it here, I would have to say, these are observations. Can I even report here? Can I report online? Maybe I can't. Okay, I don't think I can. So you have to report on your phone. So any questions about reporting on your phone? If not, I'm going to projects.
I'm not seeing any questions, Angie.
Okay, I'm going on to projects. So I have logged in. This is my iNaturalist account. And so I will just say, these are the reports that I took this morning. Yes, all of these I took this morning. And this is the first time I've ever done just a recording. But I did a recording of what I believe to be a northern cardinal because frankly, I saw it. I'm not very good with my bird sounds, but I hopefully others can do that. It of course flew off before I could get a picture. So this is hence the sound. And then I have these, they were planted, they predate me. I know that they are honeysuckles, they are vining honeysuckles, but I will tell you, I wasn't super keen on the answer that iNat gave me. And so if you can see it, have pulled out some other resources that I will look to try to confirm which of the exact honeysuckles these are, because I don't think iNaturalist got it 100% correct. But it is helpful to try to solve some of these mysteries. And so these I did know, and so I just wanted to give it a whirl. But you can see I have a picture with some scale of the flower, and I have a picture that shows me the leaf arrangement, and then I have a picture of the whole plant. And I want to point out that way down here, it says, is this organism wild? No, because I clicked cultivate, and then I added it to my project. So it's a project of the Gupta yard. And so this one, if I go back from this morning, was out. I was doing my forest bathing in the morning. I've been doing that since the pandemic started. And so again, I didn't get a picture because it was far away and I couldn't capture the picture. This is wild, so I did not do that. It is hopefully also, yep, I did not have to tag it because this project I set up so anyone that reports within the geographic boundaries that I created for Plumber House get tagged as Plumber House. And so it automatically does that because of the geolocation. And so that showed up there. All right. So Matt can interrupt me, but I'm going to go to projects. If there are any questions, you can just interrupt me. So I had been intrigued by the possibility of iNat projects for a while. And so last year, when I was stuck at home from the pandemic, I went ahead and created this one, Gupta Yard. And I created it, and I'll tell you, I've only done this twice. Both times I had to look up a few things to understand how to do it correctly. So I had to like Google and go to iNat and do a few things, but it wasn't really that hard. But a couple of things I would like you to note. So I prefer satellite image. So one, I love this, that there's this total. I've made 109 observations in my yard, representing 87 different species, yet I am the only reporter. No one else in my family cares to iNat, which I don't really understand, but such is the way it is. So it's me, and that isn't a surprise, it is my house, of course. Now this is my house. This is my yard. And you can see some of these are not in my yard. Oops, some of them are in the street, some of them are in my neighbors. And this is a result of the geolocations not being perfect. Now I could fix these, but frankly, I don't really care. So I haven't bothered. And so these are the pictures that I have taken of all of these different observations. And I'm a bit embarrassed to say there are no birds because I can't, again, take any decent pictures. And I just really thought about insects late last summer. Like, I don't know why. I'm essentially gardening for insects at this point, but they didn't really occur to me. So I started adding insects. I have not put any of my house plants in. There's quite a selection of those. But they're there. This is one of my favorites. If you've maybe seen me say this before, my son was mowing the grass, which looks a lot like Creeping Charlie. And he found this and he was like, "Mom, why is there a fish in the yard?" I was like, I have no idea. There's no water around me. And I am not a fisher person, so I didn't know what it was. So I netted it. Of course I did. Immediately I netted it and it came up with a white sucker. And then I didn't say this, but I hopefully, iNaturalist first gives you your best guess based on the image, and then it goes out to the iNaturalist community. And so someone that presumably knows more about fish confirmed that, yep, indeed it was a white sucker. And so then with two different confirmations, it will become research grade. And so indeed, that's what it is. It turns out that these are common in the Zumbro River near my house. And that day, there were a pair of bald eagles that were spotted on my block. And so our best guess is a bald eagle got it and dropped it, coincidentally, in my backyard. And then that's how it landed there. That is by far the most exciting find I've had. But I will say that what I have discovered is tons of the things at my house, and I can go to observations. Can I click on that? Just see them all. Frankly, I inherited a very manicured landscape that has a ton of non-natives. So I've been slowly trying to convert it to natives. And what that has required is me, frankly, learning what is in my yard. And there are some that I have not been able to get to species. And so this is where I might have to go to that other app, the Picture This app, and see if it can do a better job with these horticultural varieties. I am pleased. I think I finally figured out what no. Well, anyway, there's another shrub that was sort of this one. I think I finally figured out that it is a University of Minnesota developed horticultural azalea that is not, it's like not natural. It's horticulturally developed, so it's not going to show up well in iNaturalist. Took me a lot of investigating to figure that out. But I've really enjoyed the fact that all of my observations are in one place. And that I had no idea that these wasps were European. I now have way less baggage about killing them. So I've really enjoyed this at my house. I will then take you, any questions about this before I go to the next project?
Yeah, Angie, Barb has a question.
Yeah, shoot, Barb.
Well, I'll just read from it. Can you create a project on the phone app, or do they have to be created online? Can't figure out how to create a project on the phone.
Yes, I think you have to create them online. It's a good question. And so in both of these, so in iNaturalist, I'm pretty positive you have to create it online. And I'll be frank, it's a little confusing and it would be very frustrated on your phone. So you would want to set it up online. Once it's set up online, then it's super easy to find on your phone. It just drops right down. It's like super easy, but you have to set it up on your computer first. And so, you know, it's the same if you do projects in EDDMapS. So if you want to use ISM Track, or if you want to do EDDMapS Pro, both of those require pre-work. ISM Track requires it on your computer, and EDDMapS Pro and ISM Track app both require pre-work on your phone. You have to download data directly to your phone, presumably from your own wireless, before you go to the field. So that is a thing for some of these features. Good questions, Barb. All right, I move it along. So this is
Angie,
yeah,
Gary,
go.
Yeah, so I looked on my phone on the bottom right-hand corner, Barb, there's 3 dots that says more, and then it goes to projects and then guides on that next level, if you see that. And so I'm not sure on the projects, I click on that and it has an arrow to the right. It says joined, featured, or nearby. So I'm not sure, and then it's got a search button, but I'm not sure if you can put the projects in there or it just looks at the projects that you put online. But anyway, there is it looks like the app on the phone does have an area that you can see the projects. I'm not sure if you can put the projects in, but
yeah, you cannot, Gary. So that is where you find them though. So good observation, Gary. So
thank you.
Once you create the project on the computer, then that's where they show up on the phone. And if you don't have them on the computer, they will not show up there. And so for some of you guys, I don't know. So on my projects, I have Gathering Partners, BioBlitz, that's an old project. I have a Gupta Yard, and then I have University of St. Paul campus has a project, and those I have to opt into. And then the City Nature Challenge, which Extension has run for a number of years, those are, you do not opt in. And I think wonder if they don't have an end date because they still persist. Maybe they have closed. And then the Plumber House is also, for me, shows up. And so then it's really, I mean, so I don't have, if you go online and you look at their projects list, I mean, there's thousands, tens of thousands of projects all around the world, but I don't care about all those, right? So it just has this short list of ones that I participate in. And I will say that's another good reminder. So EDDMapS is used fairly broadly across the entire United States. And so anywhere in the United States that you travel, you can use EDDMapS. iNaturalist is used very broadly across the globe. So I heard this morning that France is going to allow vaccinated US citizens into France starting very soon. If I go to France and I'm curious about a plant or an insect or a bird, I can iNat that and it will be able to tell me. And so if you actually go to my iNat observations, it is kind of interesting in, here, your observations, in that you can kind of track vacations. So a lot of these are around here, but if you go a little bit further down, you'll see that my family went to New Orleans right around Christmas. And so these are pictures from New Orleans. And if you go yet further, and we don't necessarily have to because the pandemic put us back, but you know, when my husband is from India, so when we go to India, you'll see observations from Asia as well. And it's super great. Some of the invasive species that are invasive here are, of course, native in Asia. And I see them and I recognize them, but they look a smidge different in their native habitat. And it's just great. I can quickly iNat and confirm that, yes, I'm right, or no, I'm wrong. And I can see that really quickly. All right. So if there are any other questions, interrupt me, but otherwise I'm going to go on. So this is a project I started at my house with the Gupta Yard. And then I decided this year, I've been doing a lot of work, my boys and I, in the woods at Plumber House, getting rid of a lot of honeysuckle and buckthorn and finding a lot of Japanese tree lilac and getting rid of garlic mustard and tons of other stuff. And so this year I wanted to really capture what was out there. I had done a little bit of iNatting last year, but that wasn't really where my brain was. And so I did. I created this this project, and the Plummer House is a beautiful landscaped garden, formal garden, beautiful Tudor style house that you can rent out for weddings and graduations and things like that. And then it has sort of some forested hills on a forested hill on both sides at the top of Pill Hill in Rochester. And that's really where we were working. I don't hardly ever hang out in the gardens, but other people do. Lots of professional photographers do pictures, wedding and graduation pictures up there. And so I thought, let's see, right? And so this is a brand new project, but there are already 70 observations. So I'm really keen. I met the neighbors. There's a house that's actually up there. And so I was telling them about iNat, and I can see he iNatted. So that's exciting. And then there's a new summer staff person up there, and she is the one who reported this robin and inspired me to report the cardinal this morning in that same way. And then this person they must not have an iNat account, or they haven't put their name in there. Oh no, the species is unknown. Sorry, I didn't know the slug. And this must be Gina, the new observer. And so anybody can report to this, and now it will track all that we have seen. So 70 observations representing 57 different species. And so while somebody's putting in a lot of birds, that's exciting. And I will tell you this, I would kind of want to show, it might not show up here. Let's see. I kind of want to show you one observation, and I might have to go to mine to see it. Nope. Because I want to show you about the amount of chatter that can happen. Let's do species, and I'm trying to see if this is the right one. Oh, I didn't. I wanted to do observations. Well, I'll keep going. I had one, I thought it was a rusty patch bumblebee, the state bee. And it's a threatened species. And so I was so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, I found one. And it turns out I didn't get the right pictures. I didn't know what to take pictures of. And there was a ton of chatter. That's what I wanted to show you about that species. And maybe I need to go to this one, observations. And the chatter got really specific. And it was fun to see this professional chatter about this observation that I'd made. And now I know I need to take better pictures. This is it. Well, and now I know for a bee what exactly I need to take a picture of. So here I was out there removing buckthorn and honeysuckle. I found this and I thought, holy smokes, I found it. I'd been tipped off that they were around in Rochester. They were trying to find nest sites for the rusty patch. And so I thought it was a threatened species. I didn't want to disturb it. So I was trying not to get too close. And so I reported it. As soon as I reported it, it got tagged by a federal group because it was potentially a threatened species. And it got tagged by several local groups. And then that prompted all of this relatively heated conversation. If you actually look at the T2 on the clearly visible abdomen. This is very obviously not an aphanus. So they were very specific, and you see the reply in the third photo. And it was great. I mean, I learned a lot. And if you notice, this did finally get to be research grade. The more controversial your report is, the more confirmations of the same species it has to get in order to be research grade. So it actually languished here for a really long time because it was controversial enough. It had so many comments that it didn't have these additional confirmations. So that is actually a new feature that it got that. But now it is also tagged as a part of the Plummer House project. So you can see it was tagged as potentially threatened and endangered. It is not, so that I don't think that tag holds. You know what? This isn't. This must have predated. There we go. Because that report was before I set up the project. So that's interesting. All right, so any questions? So my point in telling you about these projects is I think it can be really helpful when you're working with landowners or specific parks to open up these projects to anyone that cares to do observations, and you can get a much better handle on all of the biota that live in a space. And then that can potentially inform management being a living list. I view it a bit like a life list for a birder, but this is all living organisms on a property or parcel. All right, I think those were all the things I was hoping to cover. I think I covered all of the questions that were asked in the intro. So I will stop talking and see if there are any questions.
I have a question about EDDMapS. Should you go in and update your report? There are areas at Highland where I've been trying to remove narrowleaf bittercrust or Japanese hedge parsley. So every year I treat it, and eventually I'm hoping I'll eradicate it, but I've still left the original report. I don't know how to update a report I've made.
Yeah, so you can do it in, let me say, I think you can do it. Oh, you can definitely do it. Can you do it in the standard Gledon app is really what I'm in my
you
head.
can now, Angie. You should be able to do a revisit.
Excellent. Thank you, Sasha. So that was the question I was trying to figure out. And so they have been upgrading it. So I will take Sasha's word. Do you remember how to do that, Sasha, on the regular Gledon app? I will tell you.
Top of my head.
Okay. So, and who asked the question? I'm sorry, was that you, Susan? No.
No, it was
Lisa.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, the other thing, so you and we might want to talk a little bit more. So you could also consider using ISM Track. And this is a really much more robust management platform. So you can do reports, right? You can do reports, but you can also do lots of other things. So let me see. I really want to search here. Oops. All right, so I don't actually look at this here, view a ton here. So this is where I've been working. And so this is the type of thing you can do. And again, this is all on the EDDMapS platform, right? So you were able to see these reports when I did it here. These are the same reports. But in ISM Track, it's way easier to go in and report, yes, I've worked on that thing. This is exactly what I did. I pulled, I cut and treated, I used goats, I foliar sprayed, whatever. You can go in there and then you can say, yes, I got it all. No, I didn't. Yes, I've been working on it. And then you can go into any one of these. And so this is what I do. I mark the polygon in which I worked, who did it. Angie pulled garlic mustard. And then for many of these, sadly not the one I picked, it has before and after pictures. So let's see if I can get another one. I'm pretty good about the before and after pictures. These polygons are not perfect. Is there a tab I should open? But this might be a slightly better way for you to do it. And then you can also do reports from here, and I can pull a report of all the work I've done, the hours that I've done it, all of that stuff. I got to find one where I wasn't alone. I think that's my deal here. I only take pictures when there are other people with me and I can put in comparisons. Well, here's one. So here's a before, garlic mustard before, and there's my little bucket. And then this is that same view space after. And you can see I didn't get all of it, right? So I had to go back and do it again. But this, then you can have your sites identified in advance. You have to do all of that pre-work on your computer, and then you can go in and really easily add to it and, you know, pull out the reports and look at your total herbicide application and all that stuff. So I do see it's 10 o'clock. So Lisa, you and I can chat if you want to stay on, or we can email later if that's of interest to you. Any last questions? And I'm hopeful that Matt dropped in the evaluation.
I did, yeah. I'll drop it in one final time. Again, if you want CEU credits, there's a separate form for that, and then there's a form for just evaluating the webinar. And Angie, I think this is the last one in this series, at least that we have planned. So I don't know if you want to mention anything about that.
Yeah, so if you think these were worth it, go ahead and type that in the evaluation and the open-ended choice there. And if you have any follow-up questions, you guys can, email me. You should all have my email address, I think. I'll drop it in just in case. Okay, it's in the chat.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any more questions, Angie.
So I see one that came to me privately, and it said these EDDMapS apps are all connected. Is it the same login ID? It is. So once you're logged into EDDMapS, then it's the same user ID and password to ISM Track and the rest. ISM Track, we at a statewide level have to give you access to, so it will prompt you to ask for a request access. That is really for professionals or really master volunteers. But all the EDDMapS use the same reporting ID.
I did see Scott ask, can you put up a slide with your various links?
Yeah, I will just drop the links into the chat. If I assume that would actually be easier. Let's see how that goes for me. Oh yeah, maybe not 100% easier. I will find my projects and drop those in here as well. Well, I can just put this up. Doesn't hurt, it might help. All right, and we are a smidge past time, so thank you everybody for hanging with me. This was, I think, really great. Hopefully it was helpful. And so I will let people go. Thank you for joining us, and I will send a follow-up email when this recording is done. And I am still going to drop in these projects. So that's the Gupta Yard link, and the Plummer House link is coming. There it is. All right. People are slowly leaving. I will.
Angie, I was just wondering, Gary here, can they access your link then? Okay, with the.
Yep.
And then can they move around your site then? Cool.
Yep. So it's all. I'm gonna stop recording. I think we're done. But the answer is yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish your answer.
Yeah. So these. So the Gupta House one, I think you can see. Frankly, I think you can see and contribute to it if you're next to my house. And the Plummer House one for sure. That is for sure an open, public, accessible. Anyone who contributes can contribute. They don't even necessarily know that they've contributed. And anyone can observe it.
And you were recording your webinar today.
Yep.
Are you going to send a link to the recording, make it available?
Yes, so I will send a link. So we have to get it from Zoom, and then we do a smidge of editing, the beginning and end really get cut, and then we'll upload it to YouTube, and then I will send that out to Forest Pest First Detector list. And then I will make sure, because it occurred to me like yesterday, I'm not actually positive if everybody that signed up is on that Forest Pest First Detector list. So I will then send it to everyone that registered, and it will go to all 4 of the presentations that have been offered through this series. So you will have access to all of them. And it, give us a week to a week and a half to sort all that out, and then I'll send it out.
Oh, great. Because my cousin wanted to come today, and she couldn't. She works, 9 to 5. So, and I am not, by the way, I should have told you, I got my invitation from Missy Anderson or Emily Dunlap, somebody on the Three Rivers staff.
Perfect. No, and once it's on YouTube, share if it's helpful for them as well.
Okay.
And Three Rivers may actually have its own platforms to do reporting, so they may not be so interested in ISM Track. And so I remember that now. But
well, their platforms are for their paid professionals only. So they ask us to use EDDMapS, and then they take things we report from EDDMapS. We all use one account, or they might have changed that, but I'm still using the original account for our team account. Yeah. And then they just go and check and bring it up their own system.
Okay. And so go ahead.
Just following up, you might not actually be able to do revisits in the Gledin app. I can't find it. But EDDMapS Pro is great for that. That's kind of what it's for. And it's pretty much the same interface as Glidden, so it's pretty easy to switch over to that. But it allows you to view, while you're out in the field, existing points and polygons that are existing observations. And then you can click on them and say, I'm revisiting this location, and you can update it with a new photos, new description of how much is there, mentioning your treatment, things like that. So that might be an option as well.
Yeah, I will say, so EDDMapS Pro, that is essentially kind of what it was in many ways, I think, designed to do. You have to do pre-work on EDDMapS Pro on your phone. You have to like download the reports, and you have to identify the species in advance of going into the field. So if you haven't done that, it won't have loaded those points, and so you can't revisit them. Once you do it, it's actually pretty easy. And if you're interested, Lisa, you're still here. I forgot to give my plug. I felt like we were having a good conversation, but these citizen science projects, so I'll drop it into the chat. So if you go to that link, then I will show you completed projects. So last year we used EDDMapS for this Amber cork tree, gender bending trees. Oh, that's no good. All right, I gotta fix that. I didn't know that. Darn it. All right, I think I have to do that on my backside, but it has a quick tutorial about how to, so I'll try to do that today. I'll fix that. But that gender bending trees, we used EDDMapS Pro, and there's a quick tutorial on how to do that pre-stuff. And again, for this project, it was geared toward Amber cork tree data, but it can be towards anything. All right, that was a sad find. I gotta fix that.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So I think I really am going to close this down if everyone is done.
Yeah, thanks very much. It was very helpful.
Excellent. Thank you. Good luck.
Thanks, Angie.
Bye-bye.
Yep. Bye. Talk to you guys later.
Good job, Andy.
Thanks, Gary. Talk to you soon.
You bet. Bye.